All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is Scott. Happy Friday. I am going to call us to order. It is 1:01. Uh, so we are now in order. Max, can you do a roll call?
Well, certainly. Scott McCallum is noted as present. Nadira Broom,
Present.
Lillian Goodman,
Present.
Laurel Hudson,
Present.
Dr. Alan Labram,
Present.
Stephanie McGarry,
Present, it's McGarry.
and Cassie Trosper.
Present.
Mr. Chair, we do have a quorum. The meeting can proceed.
Wonderful, and thank you, Max. Well, I'll get us started out. We have our newest commissioner here, Stephanie McGarry. Thank you for being here. Stephanie, this is Scott McCollum. I'm the board chair. I've been with the commission. I can't even tell you how long now, but it feels like it's been a while. It's been wonderful. I do have your resume here, and it looks like you spent a lot of time in the health services, but maybe you could tell all of us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I actually moved from Southern California in 2010 to Oregon, and I love it. I am a drug and alcohol counselor. I am a current OCB client. So yeah, I've been able to reap the benefits and I want to give back. So that's why I wanted to do this. I live in Medford, so I'm in Southern Oregon. I don't know what else you want to know.
That's pretty good. Well, welcome. You're a California transplant. You moved to like the banana belt of Oregon.
Uh-huh.
You get a bit of sun down there, more so than we get up here in the northwest part. But welcome to the
thank you. I'm loving it though.
awesome. Well, we're really glad you're here, and thanks for joining us. And this will be a fun ride together. Anything else you want to say, Stephanie?
Just that I'm so grateful that I was at a Lions Club meeting and there was an OCB counselor, Randy Castillo. I don't know if you guys remember her. And I was 42 and she says, "What are you doing with your life?" And I said, "Nothing." And because I didn't know anything about Commission for the Blind until I moved here. So I think it's a great thing that we've got going.
Awesome. I love hearing that. Well, again, thank you for being here. Let's move into our next agenda item. It is the approval of the minutes. And so minutes were sent to all of you commissioners, and I'm looking for a motion.
This is Lillian. I will move to make a motion to accept the minutes.
Lillian, we've got a motion to accept the minutes as provided. Do I have a second?
This is Laurel, and I'll second that.
Thanks, Lillian. We've got a motion and a second to accept the minutes. All in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Minutes are approved. Now we will move forward with the audience introduction, and I'll hand the mic back over to Max.
Yes, thank you. Welcome. We'd like to introduce the members of the OCB leadership team. Daisha Johnson is our executive director. Melinda Carlson, director of Independent Living Services. Jim Portillo, director of the Orientation and Career Center. Ron Stewart, director of the Business Enterprise Program. We have Jonathan Scrumenti, who's our Workforce Innovation Manager, and Clay France, who's our internal auditor. Would other members of the audience like to introduce themselves? Carol, you're unmuted. You want to go first?
Yes. Oh, thank you. Okay, I'll go first. My name is Carol Weber, and I am a licensed manager in the BE program. And I just thought I'd come in today and come to one of the meetings because I don't think I've ever been to one. So, I just wanted to give it a try and see what it was like.
Welcome. Randy, would you like to go next?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm joining in today as the elected committee chair, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Randy. Amber? Well, maybe she's been called away. Scott, I think that's it.
No,
we have one more person up here with their hand up.
Yep, that's Mary Lee.
Am I next?
Yep.
Hi, it's Mary Lee Turner, former employee of the commission and active in the community and want to keep abreast of what's happening with the Commission for the Blind.
Right. Thanks for being here. And now, Amber, you're with us. Your turn.
No. I think I'm having mic issues.
No,
Oh,
it's working.
Yeah, okay. Well, I am back again. This is my second meeting working for Nike World Headquarters and loving it. Just here to observe and learn. Thank you.
Welcome. Scott, that's everyone.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, it's nice to have so many friendly people here today. We will move into public comment. And so if anyone's interested in providing public comment, we will give you 3 minutes to do so. Max will keep time for us. And I guess I'll open up the opportunity.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Randy Hout. If nobody else is going to go first, then I'll be the first to go.
Excellent. Take it away, Randy.
Yeah, sure. I would just like to say that I'm appreciative of the recently divergent mind shift by the agency, and that being to take the unassigned vending, which the agency over the past years has been collecting that from my position is supposed to be intended to go to the vending facility managers. But for one reason or another, a lot of the opportunities were created and diverted to the agency to the tune of about $1 million, I believe it was, gross per year. Anyway, the good news is that the agency has committed to developing new routes to put people into lucrative, viable locations, and they've also committed to working to assign the unassigned vending instead of going into the agency. It will go to the entitled recipients of this program, the blind vendors. So that's the good news. We still have some challenges, obviously. Appreciate Ron in the first 5 or 6 months he's been here. It's been a breath of fresh air. But like with any relationship, right, you have to figure out how to work with each other. And, you know, it's not all one way or another. So there are some things that we're continuing to work through and work with, but so far so good. So
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate it. Mary Lee, you've graciously raised your hand, so you can go next if you like. You're on mute still.
Yay, thank you. It's a privilege to be here, and I would like to just share 2 things with you. Well, 3, and then I'll stop. Number 1, the Hull Foundation and Learning Center is having an annual fundraiser. It is our Tea in the Park. It's a very fun event. It is July 20th from 1 until 4 p.m. The cost is $25 per person, or 2 for 2 adults is $40, and it's less for children. And we would love to have staff and clients and commissioners come out and join us and have a really fun time. You can call the Oral Hull Foundation at 503-668-6195 for tickets. We'd love to have you come out. That's the first thing. And Scott would love to have you come and bring a bunch of folks from Washington. And then the second thing is there is going to be a picnic happening on August 3rd in Eugene that is sponsored by the Eugene Downtown Lions Club. And besides having folks who experience sight loss join us for this event, we would really like to have organizations from the community represented there, because it's there's a lot of folks who experience sight loss living in Eugene Springfield vicinity, and they do not have access to much of a community. So we're inviting folks from the American Council of the Blind, who currently do not have a chapter in Eugene. Also, the National Federation of the Blind would love to have them throw their hat over the hedge and join the community, and would love to see folks from other organizations there as well. So if you have questions or concerns, I know that Daisha has the information about the picnic, and you can also contact me, Mary Lee Turner. My name is out and about all over the place, but my phone number is 503 no, that's not 668, 956 5088. Those are the two things I wanted to share with you all today. It's good to be here.
Thank you, Mary Lee.
You're welcome.
You have a third? I thought you said you had a third.
I did, but it's I'm going to stop there. I don't want to take up too much time. It's just that so I'll just throw it out anyway. The Hull Foundation and Learning Center has an amazing array of things, resources available, as well as we have an active Zoom presentation weekly that is available to anybody. We have folks joining us from all over the country for the information that we are sharing with folks. We have a very active group on every Tuesday at 10, dealing with computer stuff. And believe me, I'm not leading it. And we have lots of other stuff going on. So please consider checking us out. Thank you very much. That's my free.
All right. Thanks, Mary Lee.
You're welcome.
All right. Anyone else? Carol, you appear to have come off mute. Would you like to share something?
Oh, no. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Didn't mean to put you on the spot. I thought maybe you wanted to.
No, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? We have somebody who just joined us with right now it's labeled as iPhone. And perhaps that iPhone user would like to introduce themselves. And we're right at public comment, so this would be a perfect time if the iPhone user wants to say something too.
Earlier in the call, that was Randy, so we may have rejoined.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. All right. Well, hearing none, I will move forward into our executive director report. And so take it away, Daisha.
Good afternoon, commissioners, and welcome to June. It actually feels like June outside, so that's exciting. I think it's Rose Festival weekend, and it's hard to imagine that we're not going to have rain. It feels like that is a common tradition where as soon as visitors show up, it starts raining around here. So I'm going to wear the hat of CFO this afternoon. Kat is on a much well-deserved vacation. And I will start with the donation report, which you all should have received. And our cash balance ending April 30th, 2024 was $322,675 and some change. And the remaining obligation, $21,963,000 and some change. So $21,963. And the unobligated donations balance is $300,711.60. Any questions about the donations and bequests statement? All right. Hearing none, I will move on to the financial status report. You also received this, Kat, our CFO did prepare this. And she is projecting a total underfund by 5.2%. She's projecting that we would utilize all of our general fund, but that we would be underspent in federal as well as other funds. And then she kind of reviewed some of her trends that she is looking at in regards to the budget. Any questions about Kat's financial report or the financial status?
Daisha. Daisha?
Stephanie, you have a question?
Yes, Stephanie.
Great.
So what does that mean, underfunded?
It is a financial status report. That's a great question. So we work on a biennial budget. And so one of the things that our CFO reports to the commission at every meeting is kind of where she sees, based on where we sit currently, where we will project where we'll end up at the end of the biennium. So the budget period that we're in started June 1st or July 1st of 2023, and it goes through June 30th of 2025. So we're just about a year out from the end of the biennium. So based on current trends and expenditures, she's projecting that we would be slightly under budget overall.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah. It's a little bit, it's early, so it doesn't have and some of our budget expenditures are cyclical in nature, so it doesn't reflect exactly where we are on June, because it's just through April.
Okay.
The other thing to keep in mind is our federal revenue. It doesn't line up directly with the biennium, so in some ways it's important for us not to hit our full budget limitation, to make sure that we, based on future projections for revenue needs for the next budget cycle, that we have sufficient funding to cover not only our current expenditures that we need for this biennium, but the next 2 years, that we'll have sufficient funding for that period as well. Good question.
And Stephanie, this is Scott. I just want to encourage you to ask questions anytime you have them. Many of us have heard these reports, and so the language that they use, is routine for many of us. But it's really great to have a new person in here who has a different perspective or isn't used to the language that's used. And so I appreciate your questions anytime. All questions are.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair did put in the chat, underspent is another way to say that, and I agree. That's probably more of a regular human being way of saying that. Other questions about the financial report? And I might add, we will be talking about kind of the 25-27 biennial kind of projections, and Kat mentions that in her financial status report, and we'll go over that in new business later on in the meeting. All right, moving on. I have in front of me, and Kat isn't here, but I want to recognize her and her team publicly. I received, since the April commission meeting, from the Chief Financial Office at the state of Oregon, honor roll certificates for 2 straight fiscal years, one for federal fiscal or state fiscal year 2022, as well as fiscal year 2023. And this is really related to both timeliness and accuracy of year-end reporting. One of the things that we do, which is not unusual for even private businesses, we actually do an annual close of the books, and then a full biennial close of the books that happens every year. We're just starting to ramp up year-end close for the state fiscal year 2024. And that really commences now and goes through the better part of August of each year. And it's a major accounting endeavor. And so there are certain deadlines and deliverables that are required to close the books that are reviewed by a statewide audit team. And so I'm pleased to share that for the last 2 fiscal years in a row, we were able to meet the timeliness and accuracy deadlines and expectations for the Chief Financial Office. So thank you to Kat for that. Any questions about that?
Just a comment. Great job. This is, I've seen this award issued to the commission now a number of years, and so it's great to see that continue.
Yes, thank you very much. And I also want to recognize that with the changes and Great Resignation and all of the changes in just managing and staffing up an organization, Kat has led a lot of staffing changes. So the fact that her team has continued to be able to meet these deadlines, even with turnover and shortages of staff, is quite commendable. Okay, and the next item, I'll just turn this over to Clay. Speaking of audits, he did his review of agency head transactions. He's produced a report for you, and he is available to answer any questions that you may have. Hi, Clay.
Hello, Dacia. Hello, commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. On an annual basis, you get to hear me talk about the agency head review. And what this is, the Oregon County Manual contains a policy called the approval of agency head transactions. And the policy sets accountability for the review and approval of agency head transactions. And so when we say agency head, we're talking about Dacia and her monthly time reports, her requests for vacation payoff, use of exceptional performance leave, travel expense reimbursements. And if she had a small purchase order transaction system card, which is a P card, I would look at that as well. So the policy requires either that the commission play an active role in reviewing and approving each of these transactions, or delegate the review to someone who then reports back to the commission on an annual basis. And so that's what I'm doing today. You all received a copy of the report in your packet. I looked at all of these transactions for the period of April 2023 to March 2024, and no concerns were noted. But if you have any questions about any of the pieces in the report, I'm happy to address them.
Good job, Dacia.
Thank you
very much. Thank you, Clay, for your work.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. All right. Well, the other item which we may also need Clay's assistance with, if you will recall, every few years we do a federal compliance audit. The Single Audit Act basically is an agreement between the federal government and the states, that states get instructions from the federal government on basically what grants and what to look for in the grant awards that we receive at a federal level, to look at, and then they report those findings and recommendations back to the federal entities. And so every few years we get a federal compliance audit, sometimes more often if they come back. And it is a very helpful check and balance process for us. They come in, they look at our books, they look at certain types of transactions, and then they give us feedback and recommendations. So you've received some documents in relation to that review. The first thing you received is the letter that we received from the Secretary of State regarding the findings and recommendations from that. And then the other document that you received is our response. So the first, the auditor's findings and recommendations, the first one was in regards to reporting. And this is in relation to the report that we submit to the RSA, the Rehabilitation Services Administration, on the vocational rehabilitation side, related to the client's activities in the vocational rehabilitation program. When someone is closed, we capture information and data related to their employment outcome, their wages, and so on. And they looked, and there were some of the clients in the sample that did not have all of the supporting documentation that they would like to see in that process. And so their recommendations is that we improve the internal controls. Interestingly enough, two of the deficiencies of record, we were able to find evidence after their testing period closed that we actually had the documentation. But their point nonetheless is that we need to improve our controls on tracking the data related to the documentation around case closure. Clay, did I capture that adequately enough?
You did. Well said.
And the second item related to this is they've asked us to clarify, one of the things they look at is allowability of expenditures. And so they have requested that we reach out to the Rehabilitation Services Administration to clarify the allowability of charging the vocational rehabilitation grant for certain types of professional legal services. And that's a fancy way of saying our attorney general fees. And we are in the process of seeking that clarification to resolve that issue. Any
Question,
questions?
Daisha.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So, what has been the issue? Has there been issues in the past with that, or is this something new?
Issues with the
allowability?
It is not, is a new issue that just came up in the federal compliance audit this time around. Our business practices actually haven't changed in my 24 plus years. So it's a long-standing business practice that they flagged in the process. And they basically asked us to just clarify that the current practice is allowable, and we're in the process of getting that clarification. Good question. I think one of the things that is just really helpful, and all of us we will never be perfect, in the process. And one of the things that's really helpful is when you're working through and trying to keep all the balls in the air with running an organization and serving clients, there are things that you may look away from because you don't think it's a problem. And then it becomes a problem where your controls and kind of the safeguards you put in place to make sure that things are done appropriately don't work anymore, or a rule changes or something changes and you haven't gotten to, make the necessary corrections. And the thing that I really value about the federal compliance audit process is it's kind of like going to your doctor for a wellness check. And, you feel fine, but you don't know what you don't know until you actually have someone else kind of take a look at all of the systems working together. And it's just a really, really valuable part of our process. So we really embrace it and, look forward to the opportunity of getting that outside wellness check and to be able to make corrections as necessary. Sometimes it's helpful if you're really interested. The full Single Audit Act publication is available on the Secretary of State's website. And I do that every once in a while just to calibrate like how our findings are in relation to other agencies in terms of total question costs or what have you. And it is an interesting perspective to kind of look to see of all of the agencies that were audited over the last state fiscal year, what kinds of issues they identified, across the enterprise. That helps give context. Other questions?
I'm just curious if this Stephanie, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes. Nadira.
So, in terms of the closing out process with clients, I know it's been a while since I closed out, but do you still collect that data the same way with a survey of sorts?
Yeah, we do a survey and we also follow up to get individual responses. Basically, you're trying to get the supplemental data about the closure information, you know, where the person's working and their wages and so on. It is not easy to get a hold of clients in all transparency. And a survey, as we all know, in our worlds, unless it really, really is meaningful to us, surveys don't always get the response rates that we would hope. So we're constantly kind of working through that process. It's interesting that RSA identified that particular area as one of the things that they wanted states to take a look at. But it is an ongoing challenge for us, for sure. Thank you for that question. Other questions about the information?
Just curious, Daisha, can you give us an example of what was missing in those client closeout reports?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask Clay. I'm gonna phone a friend and have Clay take that one.
Gladly. I remember one of the items was the hourly wage at exit. And so that's information that we request from the client, but if they don't provide it, then we have little recourse to get that. But
So Daisha?
Yes.
I just did one actually recently, a survey, because I closed and then reopened. And yeah, I mean, if they just straight out ask the questions, I think that'd be helpful. But like that income one, it's like, can I just tell you monthly? Because that would be easier. So I don't know if that would be helpful when they're doing those.
Oh, interesting. We'll make a note of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just easier for me to tell you, this is how much I get monthly.
Well,
Yeah.
honestly, we could probably provide, some people are hourly and some people are salary. Maybe we could provide both options. That's really good feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know what I make hourly, but I know what my monthly checks are because I'm so yeah, it makes sense.
Really good suggestion. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other piece, if you note in the letter, one of the things that the Governor Kotek is tracking is audit findings and recommendations. So we will actually be reporting in the fall our audit finding and recommendation status update. We actually sought clarification from the feds on this issue a year ago, and we didn't hear back. And so we're just working through the process, and we gave ourselves until December of this year. But honestly, we're really, we are subject to the timing of the federal government. So the fact that this is a federal compliance audit suggests that, you know, if they're not concerned about providing us a timely response, then, you know, it's up to them to do that. But we will be tracking this because the governor's office tracks it. So I just want to assure commissioners that it will be tracked to resolution because we are required, all agencies are required to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments? All right, not hearing any, Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Daisha. Well, moving into old business, we've got a SWEP report 2024, and I didn't think Angel was here, so guessing someone else has taken that.
It is Jonathan. Angel is out on leave today, so Jonathan is taking over for her.
Great. Thanks, Jonathan.
My pleasure. Good afternoon, commissioners. Happy to share that What has changed regarding SWEP since your last meeting is all positive. Things are definitely moving in the right direction. Our community-based SWEP program, and again, SWEP Summer Work Experience Program, focused on youth to gain experience and certainly those wages. We like that too. All but 2 of our community-based SWEP participants are placed. The last 2 are still navigating the final details with their work site. Total participants in community-based SWEP is 13. The geographic area of the community-based SWEP really spans the state from Portland to Eugene, the coast, Salem, Central, Eastern Oregon. We've got them everywhere, which is great. Our second program is Portland. This will be probably on the smaller side this year with about 6 participants. But we like the fact that they will get some of that individual attention, a little bit more on the intensive side. And all 6 of those students have their work site identified and buttoned up already. Our last update for SWEP is actually an invitation to you, commissioners. If you are interested in engaging with SWEP at all this summer, for example, by shadowing a client or visiting them at their work site, Angel said just let her know over email, and that would be something that we would be happy to make happen for you. And at your next meeting, a little preview is you'll have a chance to hear from some of the SWEPies about their summer and get a little insight into what they accomplished over their program. And that is what I have for you, unless there are any questions.
Stephanie has a question.
Please.
So is this for kids that are becoming adults, or what age group is this for?
Yeah, that's a great question, Stephanie. It's typically 16 to 21. Most of the individuals are receiving pre-employment transition services, which is for in-school youth, but you can be up to the age of 21. But you have to be eligible for work, which puts you at 16 as the starting point.
And are there any programs in Southern Oregon for this, or only up north?
So Southern Oregon would be in the community base. So if we had a student who was interested in a work experience, then we would seek out an opportunity based on their interest in their home community and arrange for that now. So those are the 13 students that are around the state.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great questions.
Also, as a former teacher in Oregon, those students who are interested, if they live in, say, Medford, Ashland, that area, and they're ready for the SWEP that's in Portland, then they go to that program and they live up in Portland.
Okay.
I think, is it still at Portland State? Yeah, so they live at the dorms there and then utilize that mass transit and everything that is Portland. So.
And how long is the program usually for? Is it just through the summer?
6 weeks, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's closer to 5 this week, if I recall. But yeah, typically it's anywhere between 5 to 7 weeks, depending on the summer.
Okay.
And it has a combination of kind of like career readiness activities, and then actual employment. And it also involves recreational activities, intensive mobility training, grocery shopping, meal prep, all of the fun things.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
It's a very impactful program, and there were different layers to this. There was a program in Salem for a long time, and that is sort of under a transition, and they're reimagining this now. And so this year, that's why there's the community and the Portland program. But as a former teacher in Oregon, many of my students would say start at the Salem program and then do that for a summer, and then they'd go to the Portland program and do that. And it's one of those sort of life-changing programs for students, and you'll get a chance to meet the SWEPies, as we call them, and hear about what they liked, what they didn't like, and it's a pretty joyous moment usually at the end of the summer.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Pretty fun. I should also mention that I'm hoping to be able to invite Andre, and let me get his last name, Beeler. Andre is relatively new to Governor Kotek's administration as the Director of Equity and Racial Justice. He is our advisor with Governor Kotek's administration. He has a standing meeting on Fridays at 1 o'clock. And so he's been wanting to join the commission. And the first Fridays of every month, he has a 1 o'clock standing meeting and a 2 o'clock meeting. So it's just like, it just doesn't work out for him. But he is likely hoping to be able to join you for your meeting to address the commission in August. And I'm trying to talk him into being able to come to the end of some SWEP Portland celebration, which is typically at Portland State in the morning of August 9th. So I'm hoping that his schedule will allow him to do that. So you can hopefully expect to have Andre at least briefly address you during your August meeting. Other questions for Jonathan?
Yeah, hey Jonathan, it's Laurel. So wait, is August 9th the Portland SWEP graduation? Is that right? Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, and we'll get the invitation pushed out to you, but it's a smaller crew. So, but typically we looked back and it starts at 8:30 in the past and it ends around 10:30. They may adjust the start or in time because it's a smaller group of students this year, but that's generally what you can expect.
Anything else for Jonathan? Okay, hearing none. Ron, I think you are up. BE program update.
Hello, good afternoon, commissioners. We've got some exciting things we've been working on in the program. First of all, we've created a new route of vending machines and micro markets. It's actually going out to bid today. We call it the West Side route, and it's based out of Beaverton, Hillsborough area. Super excited about that. So that'll give a licensed manager an opportunity for a lucrative route. Another thing we've got going is our food truck program. So we're exploring options at the state capitol, Silver Falls, and additional state parks to actually begin a food truck program with some great ideas for some great food. If I'm not mistaken, I think we're kind of spearheading this nationwide. We're the first ones. So we're really excited about that. We'll keep you updated on how it's going. Our business development specialist, Teresa Field, is retiring. So we are recruiting someone, and we're currently in the interviewing process, and hopefully we get someone in here soon to work with Teresa to get her replaced. Congratulations to her. And then let's see, I can report on our licensees. We had one licensee retire. He retired last week. We've got two licensees that now have their own facilities that didn't before. We've got one additional licensee that just got their license. They're waiting for an opportunity. So this West Side route will create an opportunity for them. And we've got one trainee to be licensed sometime within the next month or two. And that's all I've got. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. If I have a student who's really interested in being a licensed blind vendor, who should I have to talk to? If they just want to perhaps meet somebody. I mean, I know Randy out there. Maybe Randy's the guy, but should I have him, if I wanted to have somebody talk to somebody who could connect them with vendors, should I have them reach out to you, Ron?
Sure, that'd be great. Reach out to me, and then I'll put them in touch with Randy. Randy would also be a great resource, and or Kathy on my team. She would be great as well. But just have them reach out to me, and I'll send them in the right direction.
Cool. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, I should mention, I think what we were looking at, and Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, is like the food carts that are not a truck that you can hook up to something and then take places. Is that what we're still looking at?
Yes, it's the cart. Actually, it's like a trailer. You know, you tow it there and you put it there. And yeah.
And Ron has all of this rich expertise in executive chef and restaurant management. And so it's like a really cool opportunity for us to kind of, lean into the culture in Oregon around food trucks and kind of, different types of cuisine. And we have a strong partnership with state parks. And so they're allowing us access to state parks in a way that no one else has access under our agreement with them. So we're really, really excited about this. And at the Capitol, there are food carts, trucky type things intermittently there. But this would be our option. So we would replace that functionality with our own. So it's really exciting. And I just want to recognize Ron and the elected committee for working together to kind of start to envision a future program that creates more opportunities for Oregonians who are blind, who want to run businesses in food service and vending.
Ron and Daisha, is it possible for someone because of I know we ran into challenges with the food service at the Capitol just due to the intermittent population that's there, and there's the rush time and then there's the dead time there. Is it possible for a food truck to be there during session when it's popping and then move that food truck, say during the summers, to a state park where they're popping, and so someone can just really slay, make
Sure.
some
That's kind of the idea is, we could go where the business is. So wherever we think that they'll be able to make the best money, just like you said, we could go around and hopefully maybe we can get into some fairs and different things like that. But we're looking at all those opportunities because they're so mobile that, you can chase the business.
Yeah, cool.
I have a question. So Ron, you just said something about fairs. So are you talking like the expo and stuff like that they can get into?
We haven't talked to anybody, but I'd love to be able to see if we could do that. Of course.
That would be great so that the community can see that blind people can do things like everybody else.
It would be fantastic. Agreed.
Stephanie, that's the power of the business enterprise program, right? It's the most visible aspect of what we do. So entrepreneurs who are blind out there doing their thing, it really does promote what's possible for people who are blind, so it's pretty great.
Yeah, sounds very exciting. I have one other question. So how would this be visible transportation wise? Because that's always a big barrier for blind people is transportation. So how are they going to take these carts around? Do you have any answers for that yet, Ron?
I think what we'll have is the agency. We have access to trucks, and basically we'll just do the planning, and then we can hook it up and tow it wherever it needs to go.
Awesome.
That issue you brought up, Stephanie, is similar to what many of the vendors are challenged with already, in that they have routes that are all over, and so at least to my knowledge, they hire drivers to do that part of their business model.
Yeah, I just know that that's always an issue for us, being blind, trying to be out there working and engaging. It's usually the transportation or it's the technical software stuff. So that's why I brought that up.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Sure.
But it's good to see that we're finding other ways to get around those barriers.
Anything else for Ron? Hearing none, thank you, Ron. And based on Randy's feedback, it sounds like things are going in a pretty strong direction. I like to hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
People are making some money. Next up, we've got an action item. It's the agency strategic business plan, or strategic plan, not business plan, but you know what I mean. Strategic that we've been talking about for a while. And Daisha, do you want to say anything about that?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I do that, if I could just take a slight departure, I had in my stack to add to my executive director report. Max handed me today an insight kind of magazine newsletter from KCI Institute, and it has a very lovely picture of Dr. Alan Labram on the front. And the title of the main article on the cover is Casey's Vision Rehabilitation Celebrates 25 Years of Service. And I just want to recognize Dr. Labram and congratulate both him and Casey's Vision Rehabilitation Center for all of your service to Oregonians who are blind and your state-of-the-art research and facility, and you know, all of the treatment that you do to so many patients around the state of Oregon and beyond. So congratulations to Casey and to you, Dr. Labram.
Thank you, Daisha. Really appreciate that. Yeah, that Insight magazine just came out, just brand new. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, and you're quite photogenic. It's a nice picture of you. It looks like doing some type of a test on one of your patients. A nice picture.
Thank you.
Is he up in Portland area, Daisha?
It is, Casey. Yes, and maybe Dr. Labram, you could speak to where you're located.
Oh yeah, we're on the main campus up on the hill.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you know where the tram is?
Yes, I do.
Yes, just at the top of the tram there on Markham
Nice.
Hill.
Nice.
Yeah, we're just on the corner of Campus Drive and Terwilliger.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the strategic plan. Commissioners, we've been working on this plan for many, many months now. We've gone through a series of kind of looking at where we came from in terms of the previous priorities. We went through kind of a visioning session. We did what's called a PESTLE, but looking at the political, environmental, social, technological, legal, and there was one more. I can't get the PESTLE right. And then we brought it back to you in February and just kind of talked through what would you like to keep in terms of the focus areas for the agency? What would you like to evolve and kind of transform into other types of priorities? And then we had a robust conversation last meeting to kind of refine that body of work with what are the strategic priorities that we're going to use that will guide the agency over the next few years. And what you have in front of you, and visually, we worked with the state printing and distribution services. They have professional staff that can help kind of with a fancy cover. So we have, Max, did you put with the PESTLE acronym in there for me?
I did.
Thank you. Environment. That was the third, the second E that I couldn't get out of my mind. Thank you very much. So on the cover is pictures, a combination of scenic geography and also actual citizens who are blind, including, timely enough, a picture of a dragon boat filled with paddlers who are blind, which, given that it's Rose Festival weekend, it's very timely. And so hopefully when you review this document, you saw the kind of culmination of all of those conversations during your meetings. The focus areas are listed in summary form, and then details with kind of a little bit more kind of what it means. So the first focus area is workforce participation. The second, which is really all about employment, right? And working with business and specifically also with youth as they prepare for careers. The second focus area, we heard you loud and clear to retain the focus on seniors. So we have slightly rebranded that to say aging in Oregon, but it really in essence is our senior population and continuing the resources in that area, which you felt was critical. The third area is succession planning, and this is all about kind of recruiting and retaining staff to be able to do the important work of the organization. The next one is business and community, including the business enterprise program that we've talked about this afternoon. And then the fifth area is customer service. And this is a key priority for Governor Kotek and her administration. So we wanted to kind of recognize our role in providing exemplary customer service. So I am seeking approval of the 24-27 strategic plan.
Are there any questions?
Because I'm new, yes. How are you going to do the customer service parts?
That's a great question, Stephanie. And it's, to me, our customer service is reflection of what we do now. As we start to talk about the next budget, you'll get a little bit of sense. I don't anticipate significant additional resources that allow us to expand in any particular area necessarily. And so it's just to keep us with a clear focus on the importance of customer service, both internal to the work that we do within the organization, but ultimately providing the best customer service we can to Oregonians who are blind.
And how's that going to be accomplished though? Because I know that you guys are having issues with staffing.
Well, one day at a time. I think the piece is we all of the strategic priorities kind of have to happen, you know, as we juggle the balls of running the organization. But for example, if there is a staff shortage in one office, we work really hard to have the other offices fill in the gaps to the extent feasible. Technology is such, for example, if for whatever reason we have a human services assistant, kind of our reception role in one office that's vacant, those phones and kind of that customer service can be forwarded to another office. We've had, you know, folks temporarily travel and provide services in, you know, various areas of the state. So we try to expand and contract where we need to the extent we can.
Yeah, and I have seen you've been doing that, especially in my office, because I know you've had a lot of issues there. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you feel like, yeah, we're trying our best and we're continuing to do that.
Yeah.
Daisha,
Yes.
have you had any success finding a new orientation mobility specialist for the Portland area?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, Jim was juggling between client staffings, and I don't think he's on there. We actually recently hired 2 orientation mobility specialists for Portland, and they have, since the April meeting, both of them have started work. So that's good news. We also, and they have not yet started, we had 2 other vacancies, one in the field. So the 2 positions that are started are at the training center. We had a vacancy due to a retirement in Portland that was filled, and that individual, I believe, is starting in July. And then the other individual in Eugene, and that position was vacant for over a year. And we have filled that position, and that person is starting, I think, in August, if I'm tracking that correctly.
And that's an OM person in Eugene?
Yep.
Will they be also helping in Medford since they don't have one? Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're really, really excited about that. It takes persistence, and but we've gotten, hopefully, all of those positions filled, and we'll continue to try to stay on top of that, because one of the things that we recognize is that we are not going to have people stay. And if Mary Lee is still on, she was with us for many, many, many years. The world of work has shifted where we can probably reasonably expect people to stay around for 3 to 5 years, instead of the 20, 30 year kind of tradition that we've traditionally been able to enjoy here at the agency. So
why is that,
keep up on it.
Why is that?
I think that the people view work in a different way. Our retention is actually slightly higher compared to other state agencies within state government. But nationally, within the field, and I think just in general, and all types of occupations, people want to change. They don't want to be tied down to a specific industry or a specific organization for any period of time. And so, you know, what we're seeing in the labor force is people tend to be more mobile and more flexible in where they work and the type of work that they do.
Add that O&M folks are a hot commodity, so they can go anywhere they want because there's jobs everywhere. And I know that two of their recent hires they poached from Washington, so there's
That's
options.
true.
But, yeah, so if they'll find where something that they really like and where they want to be, and hopefully Portland's one of those places.
Yeah.
Medford and Eugene and all across the state. All right.
Other questions?
Oh yeah, I suppose I should ask that. Other questions? Hearing none, then I am looking for, or Daisha, we're all looking for a motion to approve the strategic plan as presented.
This is Nadira. I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Nadira. We've got a motion to approve from Nadira. Is there a second?
This is Cassie. I'll second.
Thank you, Cassie. It's nice to hear your voice. We've got a motion to approve from Nadira, a second from Cassie. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Strategic Plan 24 through 27 is approved.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
You are welcome, Daisha. Moving into new business, we've got boards and commissions APPR best practices survey. Is that you again, Daisha?
It's Jonathan.
Jonathan.
It
Where
is
are
me again. Good afternoon, commissioners. All right, so the survey that you're about to receive is a legislatively required process. So survey is the word that we use, but we do need your participation. APPR is Annual Performance Progress Report. There are 15 questions that you will receive via SurveyMonkey. Your responses to the questions are yes, no, or unsure. And I'll just give you one example. Question number 9 asks, is the commission periodically reviewing key financial information and audit findings? So are we doing this or not? Again, it's yes, no, or unsure. The questions, as you can see, are fairly factual. Did this happen or not? And because we have some new folks to the commission, or there may have been an absence due to sickness or something like that, if there's any question about if something happened or did it not happen, I would encourage you to reach out to Max or Daisha. We can provide previous agendas from meetings so that you can see you can see those agendas and kind of justify your response that way. Again, the audience is the legislature, and so we do want to be transparent in the work that we're doing. And so I'll pause here and see what questions folks have about this survey.
And commissioners, this survey is it informs one of the performance progress report measures that we report annually to the legislature. So you'll see in the best practices that one of your tasks is to review that report. It doesn't require your approval, but it does require that you actually get it. So there are several of these best practices that the legislature wants to ensure that we're doing. You will also kind of notice that a lot of the action items and things that come before you are driven by these best practices. So kind of our board routines that we have internally to the agency is based on what the legislature wants boards and commissions to do.
Are we supposed to be doing this right now, this survey?
Nope, it's just making sure you understand it, and it will come. Max will be sending it out, and then you can track. We'll track responses basically.
Because I'm new, I'll need some guidance.
For sure.
Okay.
Daisha, how would you like people to handle it if they joined the commission after the reporting period, which ends last September 30th.
Well, I don't think Stephanie, in that case, that's a good question. It probably, Stephanie, you wouldn't have to do it this time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great, thank you.
that's not fair for you to be in that position.
I mean, I could put a lot of unsures.
No, it's not gonna help our report.
Exactly.
Mhm. Thank you, Jonathan.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna put you on the spot, Stephanie. You got to answer all these questions about something that you weren't involved in. No, we won't do that.
Thank
You're welcome. Moving on to in our new business, it's our final agenda item, the 2025-27 budget development. Daisha, guessing that?
Yes, yes, thank you very much. So commissioners, for those of you who've been with us through a budget cycle before, this is a different time and we are working through a different process. So I just want to frame it out a little bit. So the budgeting process works on a biennial basis. And in the even years, we begin with what's called an agency request budget. We are an early submittal agency, and so we submit our agency in the even years by August 1st or around there. And we submit that to the governor's office through the chief financial office of the Department of Administrative Services. And then the governor has a decision point to make in terms of where she wants to invest in state government. And she will issue a governor's budget by December 1st of the same even year. So we submit an agency request budget, it goes to the governor for her consideration. She'll submit a governor's budget, and that governor's budget goes to the legislature. So the elected House of Representatives and Senators have an appropriation process that happens in the odd years in what we call the long legislative session. And so the governor's budget goes to the legislative process. You will hear the word Ways and Means Committee, which is the state of legislature's appropriation process for government. And the legislature sets a combination of what's called limitation. So it sets our funding spending limit for federal dollars. So how much money of our federal dollars are revenue that we can actually spend on behalf of Oregonians who are blind. Other funds, which are other types of revenue that comes in. An example of other fund revenue that we have to get permission for is set aside. So set aside, which is in our business enterprise program, they've paid 11% of their net proceeds that helps fund kind of the maintenance or repair of equipment and professional development and some other required activities. That those are other funds, and in order for us to expend those, the legislature gives us spending authority on that. The final type of revenue that we receive is what's called general fund. General fund is basically taxpayer money, either corporate taxes or personal income tax that comes to the state of Oregon. And the general fund is what we use substantively to match our federal vocational rehabilitation and independent living awards that we receive from the federal government. So this process is months and months and months long, and typically at the June meeting of the even years, we're producing for your consideration a fairly robust set of kind of decision-making packages, things, budget enhancements that we want to pitch to the governor. Governor Kotek, prior to becoming governor, she was Speaker of the House for many years. And she decided to depart from a typical agency request budget process and create an iterative process based on her priorities. And what this means is that she really is being laser focused on early childhood education, housing and homelessness, behavioral health, and the environment. And some agencies will get flat funded. Some agencies, if you fit clearly into those 4 priorities, will get targeted investments. And some agencies will be experiencing a reduction. We are fortunate in many ways that we will not be experiencing a reduction likely in the governor's budget, all things being the same in terms of the economy. But we have been limited to putting forth enhancements in the budget at the amount of $150,000. So what we are proposing that we do with that $150,000 is promote what you said was your top priority, which is the Older Blind Independent Living Program, and ask for as much of a percentage of a position that $150,000 will buy. And what it is 0.64 percentage of a full-time equivalent position. And so we will not be reducing any services to Oregonians. We will not be reducing any staff to Oregonians. We will get basically current service level, likely, which is basically our current budget plus a cost of living increase, inflationary factors. So it looks and feels a little bit differently. It is our job to implement the governor's wishes, which is to promote her priorities and to work within the guidelines that were provided. And so you won't have like a decision really to make unless you want us to depart from really promoting that high need area of the Older Blind Independent Living Program and a teacher. My wish is that we get more than 0.64, but we are capped at 150,000, so we are only able to put that much of a position. Practically, we would not be hiring 0.64 of a human being, but we will cross that bridge when we come to it, when the ultimate process is decided through the legislative process.
Daisha, I have a question.
Yes.
So you said one of the categories for the governor is homelessness. I know a lot of blind individuals who are homeless in Southern Oregon. So how do we get her to be aware of that, or is she aware of that? Do you know?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you so much for that. We have tried, in all transparency, just about every angle to fit our mission and our services into those priorities, as has every executive branch agency done the same. So if you didn't fit squarely in the priorities, you're not in the priorities. But we have certainly tried and will continue to promote where there is crossover between the work that we're doing, because that's absolutely the case with housing and homelessness. It's also the case with behavioral health, where we have consumers that are having difficulties accessing timely and adequate behavioral health services to help them. We have clearly nexus with education and early childhood education. There's lots of, the only one that we couldn't really tie to is the environment. But the governor has a very intentional focus and a crystal clear plan and vision for what she wants to accomplish during her first 4 years as governor.
That's just interesting because, you know, a lot of blind Oregonians are unemployed, and if they can't get employed, then they can't afford housing and mental health services and all these other things. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I agree completely. Other comments, thoughts, questions? Concerns about the plan to move forward with the independent living focus?
It's just a real bummer that's $150,000 we're talking about over the, multi-million-dollar budget. It's
Yeah.
a sad amount of increase.
Yeah, to give some perspective, I think our 23-25 agency request budget for general fund was around $4 million.
Wow.
Additional resources that we asked for. We didn't get it all, but we were able to ask.
But did we get more than 150,000?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Is there anything that the communities as a whole can do to prove that we fit more squarely in those main categories? And how would we do that?
Yeah, it's a great question. The best way, and probably the most targeted way, is through the legislative appropriation process. So the governor's budget is a recommendation that is for the legislature to consider. We typically, and when I say typically, nearly every single time, if not every single time in my 24 years, we fare better in the legislative process. So when the legislature kind of begins the 2025 session, one of their first and biggest jobs that they take on over the series of their session is the appropriation of state budgets. So they set staffing levels and they set funding levels. So stakeholders are interested in getting involved in the legislative process. You know, attending these meetings is a great way, but also, you know, tracking where our budget will be just like any other piece of legislation. It will have a bill number and it will follow, you know, through the both chambers and all of that process, and providing testimony, you know, talking with your representative and senator about your interests and concerns. All of that makes a huge difference.
Thank you.
Yeah. The legislature funds what the citizens want, right? You know, state agencies were a little bit, you know, where of course we want the money because we're working for the organization, but what the legislature cares about is the people who elect them, and what their priorities are. So we've historically had wonderful support from the American Council of the Blind of Oregon and the National Federation of the Blind of Oregon to really, when they're at the Capitol, to reinforce the importance of a strong, well-funded agency that provides robust services to Oregonians who are blind. And that really does make a huge difference for us.
Yeah, and I know that NFB will be up there too.
That's really, really amazing. The power's in the people.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, I want to end by saying welcome again to our new commissioner, Stephanie McGarry. We're glad you're here. Also want to say thanks to Mary Lee, Carol, Amber, and Randy. Carol, you have your hand up, so you might as well, if you have something to say, I want to give you a chance. Or I'm sorry, Mary Lee.
Thank you. As I've been sitting here listening to this commission meeting, I've been thinking back about the Commission for the Blind, and I'm one of those old dogs that have basically been around since about 1975. And there are 3 programs that the Oregon Commission for the Blind have introduced to not only the state of Oregon, but to the country. And I just wanted to, I'm extremely proud of these things. One of them is the SWEP program, Summer Work Experience Program, started here in Oregon. It was the first one ever. And also our program that we called Living with Blindness seminars. I don't know if those are still going on, but when I was involved with the Commission for the Blind, and I primarily worked with older blind folks, they didn't like the word blindness. So when we did seminars for older blind folks, we called it Living with Sight Loss seminars. And then the third one is the Independent Living Program. our administrator, Chuck Young, went to Congress and got us the first funding for our independent living program for folks 55 and older. So Oregon has been in the spotlight for those three programs for many, many years. So I'm exceedingly proud of those and want to take this opportunity to just give you all kudos. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Lee.
Mhm.
It's always nice to end on a positive note. Also want to say congrats to Dr. Labram for his magazine spread. Nice job. We're proud of you. And I'll have to check it out. And then I wanted to end on just a little story. I have a TikTok addiction. Hi, my name is Scott. I have a TikTok addiction. And anyway, I was on TikTok the other day and I read across. And then she starts going into how great the commission is, because the commission helped her set up a massage therapy business, and she had several videos about how wonderful the commission is. So I thought it was really cool. She was talking about all the old O&M skills that we taught her, and all kinds of stuff, but she mentions the commission in a number of her posts. So I thought that was really cool. And then she also mentioned that she was 30, which made me feel really old. But anyway, that was really cool to see. I want to thank you all for being here. Happy Friday. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.